All right. This is your pilot speaking. We are about to descend into library land, folks. Is this volume okay? Should it be louder, quieter? Can y'all hear me in the back? Cool. All right, so let's get rocking and rolling. So thank you for coming to the Library Professional Development for the Office of Undergraduate Research Professional Development for summer 23. Y'all are going to be an awesome cohort, I can already tell. So let's boogie, as it were. There we go. All right, so I'm going to have y'all pull out your phone really quick. And I want you to text our summer scholar to this number on the screen. This is not for the Office of Undergraduate Research. This is for the library, so we can keep track of how many students we reach through instruction. So you just have to text our summer scholar, and you'll either get a text thanking you or asking you to log in with your NinerNet credentials. If that happens, go ahead and log in. I'll give you a second to do that. All right, thumbs up. Are we good to go? All right, a few more seconds. All right, so how are we feeling today, folks? In dog scale, tap in with me. Tell me, which of these dogs best represents how you're feeling right now? I'm definitely a 9, so I'm very happy to see y'all. How are y'all feeling? Shout it out, hold up fingers. How are you feeling? 7, okay, you're chilling. All right, so I see a 4, love it. I see a 2, okay, a little bewildered perhaps. What else, what else? How are we feeling? A 1, okay, a little sleepy, I got you, I'm also a little sleepy. Do I see a 3 or 4 over there? I think it's a 4, oh, another 4, a 5, okay. Nobody said 3 that I saw, so I think we're gonna be okay. No one's about to strike, which is good, but we could handle it if needed. So thank you for passing the vibe check. A little bit about me, I'm sure you're perhaps a bit curious. My name is Olivia Patterson. I use she, her pronouns. Y'all can just call me Olivia. I am the student success librarian at Atkins. This pointer gives me too much power. I have a master's of library and information science. Yes, that is an actual master's degree you can get from UNCG. I majored in sociology in undergrad at UNC Asheville, very much a product of the UNC system, for better, for worse. I'll let you be the judge of that. Contractually obligated to love reading as a librarian, like to make a mess in the kitchen when I have a little bit of free time, which is fleeting, of course. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to talk to y'all about how you all can use the library this summer in your research, and also in the fall and the spring, whenever, really, because we are quite literally always open. Unless if the entire university campus is closed, we are open all the time. So we're going to go over some of the spaces in the building, the resources that we offer. We'll go a little bit into research, and I'll do a brief demo on a database. And then at the end, we'll have some time for some questions. Does that sound just like so much fun on a Tuesday morning? All right, cool. We're stoked. All right, so spaces, there's our beautiful library. So I'm highlighting a few study spaces, which I'm sure many of y'all already know. So if you want a silent study space, so you want no talking, headphones required, like absolutely dead silent, you're gonna wanna go to compact shelving and silent study, which is on the ground floor. Or you could go to room 115, which is graduate and silent study. You don't have to be a grad student to go in there. I don't know why it's called that, but either of those is going to be completely dead silent. And then, of course, there's different tables, cubicles, and open seating scattered throughout the building. In general, the higher you go in the tower, the quieter it's going to be. So that means that ground, first, second, and third are going to be the most bustling, kind of lively places. Although during the summer, it's just kind of quiet overall, there's not as many students here. But if you want to like do some group work or like hang out with your friends, I would recommend staying kind of closer to the bottom floors. And if you want more quiet, go up. Additionally, we have the reservable study rooms. How many of y'all booked a study room at the library before? I see several hands. So these are reservable rooms, and we have many of them. And you can get to it on the website. On the homepage, there's just a button that says study rooms. It'll prompt you to log in, which I'll do very quickly. And I'll verify my identity so that nobody books a study room in my name. All right, so I'll take you to this portal. And there's a couple ways you can do it. I like to click on this button that says view all rooms, and it'll take a second to load, but it's going to be this giant spreadsheet, and it's going to show you all of our reservable spaces in the library. So this is just for today from about 11 a.m. because that's almost what time it is this morning, until 11 p.m. So this is just for today. And anything that's grayed out is reserved. So you can see we don't have as many bookings during the summer because we're just not as busy. But that also means that's great news for y'all. If you want a private study room or a group study room, go ahead and book it because it's going to be here. But of course, during the semester, these are one of our most popular resources and they fill up quickly. And something that a lot of students don't know is that you can actually book study rooms up to 2 weeks in advance. So that comes in clutch, especially around midterms and finals when it'll be really hard pressed to find a room if you don't book it sooner. So just kind of my word of advice, if you think you're going to need a study room at any point, book it at least 2 weeks in advance if you can, and you can always delete the reservation later. The room's not locked. You can just go right in. That's kind of it. It's yours for up to 3 hours at a time. Any other tidbits I have? There's also different things you can reserve down here as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit, like some of our 3D printers, laser cutters, easy video studios, etc. So this is a really great resource to know how to get to. And of course, you can use those for silent studying on your own, but you can also use it for group work or even hanging out with your friends, like watching movies or whatever. You can eat in there, you could do an interview in there, you could do a Zoom class, like do whatever you want in there, as long as you're not like taking a hammer to the walls. We're probably not going to bother you. So there's kind of like study spaces. All right, Area 49. How many people have heard of Area 49 or been up there before? A few hands. All right, this is my favorite spot in the library. So Area 49 is on the second floor, and it's comprised of all of these spaces I have listed out here. So these are innovative technology spaces that you could use for fun, but several of these I think would probably also be useful for your research either this summer or in your studies in the fall, spring, etc. So I'll just highlight a few. So we have a maker space, and this is kind of an image of that. I know it's a little bit small, but this is where we have everything from low tech to high tech in regards to crafting and art supplies, as well as some kind of building makery materials. So we have paints and crayons and clay and whatever, but we also have 3D printers, CNC routers, laser cutters, all sorts of stuff in there. And it's all free and available for you to use. You just walk in whenever it's open. And there are student employees who are familiar with all of the equipment, and they will help you troubleshoot if you have issues or if you want some help. So definitely recommend going in there. To note though, is that their hours are a little bit different. So they're open 10 to 4 Monday through Friday. You could always go in there if you just like want to color, but if you also want to like build something or 3D print something for your research, absolutely go in there and do that. The 3D printing costs 25 cents per gram of filament, but everything else is totally free. Let's see, I think the easy video studios might be of use to y'all. So we have 3 of these. And they're blue screen because if we did a green screen, then everybody would be a floating head with our green color, right, for the school. So there's blue screen that you can do everything you can do with a green screen. And there is studio, like high professional quality, lights, cameras, microphones, all of that. And all you need is a flash drive and you plug it into a port in the wall and everything automatically comes on. And it's preset to be kind of this perfect studio quality. So that's why we call them easy video studios, because they're very easy for you to use. And if you don't have a flash drive, you can check one out from the library for free. So these are great for recording interviews, for recording a voiceover, for recording a podcast, anything like that. You can use this for because it'll save a video file and a separate audio file if you just want the audio. We've also had people use this for recording music. Like there's someone with a saxophone, I think, that's come in there a few times to record some music for their project. So possibilities, again, are endless for that. And again, you would reserve one of these through the group study portal I showed you just a minute ago. I'll also show you the photogrammetry lab, which is the only space in Area 49 that's not on the second floor. It's on the first floor. But this is a space where you can take images of a real world object with these specialized cameras and equipment, and it'll render it into a 3D graphic so that you could either then 3D print it or put it into like a video game or whatever else you're needing it for, like maybe some modeling. So there's that as well. It's very cool on the first floor, room 101E. But all of this information and all of these really awesome other spaces I have detailed here, and y'all will have access to these slides if you want to click around, but also this information is just on the website if you ever want to find out more. All right, I also want to shout out special collections and university archives. And if you want to sound like a in the know library person, we call this SCUA, because no one wants to say special collections and university archives when you could just say SCUA. So if you want to sound cool at the library, call it SCUA. But this is up on the 10th floor, so the tallest room in the tower. And this is where we have our archives and our special collections. So these are things that are very old, oftentimes very rare, and it's very much historical based. So the main focuses of our archival collection is Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, the campus as well, Mecklenburg County in North Carolina, as well as African American history, American and British literature, theology and religion, and children's literature. But we have way more than that as well. So in fact, the oldest book in our collection is from 1471, and it's not a facsimile. It is the actual book that was printed and bound in 1471. And you can request to see it, and sometimes they even let you touch it. No gloves. You can touch something that is over 600 years old. And the oldest item, so that would be a book, but an item, so like the special collections are things that are like rare items. So the oldest item that we have are 4,000-year-old cuneiform clay tablets from the Sumerian city of Ur, which is modern day Iraq. So there are clay tablets that are written in cuneiform. They've been translated, and it appears to be a recipe for bread. So if you want a 4,000-year-old bread recipe, head up to the 10th floor, they'll bring it out and they'll show you what that's about. This is a cool space to go just to like sit and hang out and study, but also if you're doing primary research, if you're doing research related to history, it's definitely worth a look to go up there. And we also have archivists who work up there. So like, I'm not an archivist, I'm just a librarian, but we have archivists who could help you find the right materials and also conduct this primary research if needed. So definitely a great resource up there. And finally, our only branch location is the architecture library, which is in the stores building where the arts and architecture is. So it's in the second floor. There's a branch library there, and it has materials relating to arts and architecture, mostly architecture, but it's a really beautiful space that anybody can go and just study, but they also have specialized equipment that if you are in the College of Arts and Architecture, you can check out those materials like a drop cloth, different things like that, that specifically those majors might need. So if you're doing research in that this summer, or if you are majoring in that in general, definitely go over there and check it out, or check stuff out. But anybody can go and just hang out. It's a really beautiful and very quiet space. So highly recommend that. All right. So those are kind of some of the highlights of the spaces that we provide. So let's get into the resources. So these are the majority of the books in our collection. And if you've been to the library, which I'm assuming most, if not all of you have, you're probably thinking there's not a lot of books in this library. Like for it being 10 or 11 floors, like there's not really any books anywhere. It's because almost all of them are in offsite storage, which is what this picture is. So this is in the Derrida or the Derrida area of Charlotte, and it's not open to the public. It's not even open to us librarians. We have to make an appointment with the offsite crew if we want to go over there. But this is where the vast majority of our books and periodicals are. Does anybody want to guess how many books we have in our collection overall?
10,000.
How much?
10,000.
10,000? What else? Anyone have a guess? It's more than that. Someone say 100,000? All right, try 4 million. We have 4 million books in our collection. And about 1.4 of those are ebooks, so they're not physical. But of the 3 million volumes that we have, most of them are here in offsite storage. Some of them are in the building, but most of them are offsite, which doesn't mean you can't access them. You would just have to request it online through the catalog, which I can show you. And someone from our offsite crew would courier it over to us, and then you would get an email when it's ready for you to pick up. They usually go at least twice a day, so it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround, usually like a day, maybe 2 at most. In addition to all the books, we provide access to over 200,000 journals and 450 databases. So quite literally, we have all of the information you could ever want in the library. And if we don't have it, then we can find someone who does have it. So I don't think I have a point about this, but I should bring it up. We have Interlibrary Loan, which is a program where we partner with libraries across the country. And so say that you want a book and we happen to not have it in all of the 4 million volumes that we do have. We don't have it, but you really need it for your research this summer. You would submit an ILL request or interlibrary loan, and then our ILL team would find a library that does have this book. It could be down the street, it could be at like Queens College or Queens University, or it could be over in like California. We'll find the closest one. We'll be like, hey, bestie, can we borrow this really quick? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And then they mail it to us, and then we give it to you to borrow for however long they determine. And of course, that's no charge as well, because everything at the library is free. Remember that, folks. Don't pay for anything related to research, books, materials. We have it for free. Or really, it's not free. You've already paid for it with your tuition and your student fees. So capitalize on what you've already paid for and use these resources while you can. And then we have the easy request and checkout system, which I can kind of go through in a little bit. But those are all of the scholarly material things. In terms of technology, I have it listed out, but it's really more effective to look at this page on our website. So again, don't pay for any of this stuff because we have it all for free. So this is just kind of a categorical overview, but if you were to click on one of these, like the cameras, this shows you the exact things that we have. So we have all of these, and usually more than one of each of these in our collection that you can check out. Most of these are for a week. Again, completely free of charge. The only time you're going to get charged for something at the library is if it is egregiously late or if you break or damage it. But even then, sometimes you can get that kind of nixed if you are nice to us about it. But we also have several different types of iPads, Apple Pencils, calculators, mobile hotspots. So if you need wireless internet somewhere where you don't normally get good Wi-Fi, check out one of these from us. Use as much data as you want. We're not going to charge you for it. So that's a really great resource a lot of people use. But yeah, this is a lot of the technology that we have, very popular. And perhaps one of the most popular is our laptops. So we have, what is it? Like 300 Mac laptops and over 400 Dell laptops that you can check out for up to 3 weeks at a time. So if you need a laptop for whatever reason, just come on by the front desk on the first floor, tell us you need a laptop and we'll get it out to you. Especially over the summer, you're definitely going to get one, but during the semester, that's our #1 most popular service. So sometimes you might have to wait, but over the summer, you should definitely be good if you need a laptop for some reason. And it comes preloaded with all the software and stuff like that. So definitely take advantage of that if you need it. In terms of in-house technology, so things that you can come to us and use, but you can't really take with you. So we have over 300 desktop computers, including the multimedia lab, which is part of Area 49. That's what this picture is here on the right. So these, it's like a suite of like 20 Macs or something. And they have the full Adobe Creative Suite on there, as well as like Unity and like all this like really expensive technology and like Photoshop and stuff like that that you can use for free. You just have to log in with your UNCC account. But we also have lots of printers, copiers, scanners, all this tech in Area 49. So again, don't pay for anything, come to us and use it. Although printing, you do have to pay. I think it's like 9 cents a page for black and white and 30 cents a page for color. But other than that, really everything is free, I promise. And when you need a break, we also have fun stuff at the library. So we have nap pods. You can go to the 3rd floor and just use a nap pod, or you can go through the group study portal and reserve them. But they're on the 3rd floor. We have 3 of them. And it's like this structure here on the left-hand side. It's like a chase lounge in a way. And then this dome comes over your head and it blocks out light and sound. They're very popular. I would never do it because that terrifies me, but they're very popular and they're there if you would like to. But you can also just sleep wherever you want in the library. And we often do just see people sleeping and we don't bother them. So whatever works for you. We also have Starbucks on the ground floor, although they're not open right now, which none of us know why, because they told us that they were going to be open over the summer, but they're not. So keep an eye out. Maybe they'll open at some point. We don't really know what's going on with that, but the one in the Union is open, I know. We also have the Cozy Game Collection. So we have a gaming lab as part of Area 49, and we have hundreds of games, but a small collection of that we recently launched is the Cozy Game Collection. So these are games like Animal Crossing, Cozy Grove, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, all sorts of stuff. Like you see, we have a lot of them, and they're just like calming, cute games that don't necessarily involve like combat or violence. But if you're into that, we have plenty of those games too, as well as like FIFA and stuff. But you can come in and use anytime the library is open. The door is unlocked. You just go in and use it. So there's that. We also have the popular reading collection, which is like fun books you would want to read that maybe you would normally get on like Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Like we have the Colleen Hoover books and like all the TikTok books and like also like other literature and stuff that you could read for fun if you want. And also Green Box, which is our collection of DVDs that you can borrow from us. And if you don't have a DVD player, guess what? We have one that you can borrow. So all sorts of entertainment here for you. And I also want to shout out the self-care collection, kind of a shameless plug because yes, this is one of my projects. But this is a relatively new collection at the library, and it consists of both books and technology devices that are designed to support your mental health and well-being and your kind of self-care. So we have like over 100 books in the collection relating to all different aspects of self-care that you can go. There's a special bookcase on the first floor by the spinning DVD racks. There's a bookcase that says self-care collection. You can just go through and browse. And then the devices are behind the front desk. So we have white noise machines, guided meditation devices, star and like light laser projectors, a color changing like mood lamp, a light therapy lamp, Buddha boards, etc. So you would just go to the front desk and say, hey, can I get a white noise machine? And they would give it to you. And that's for like a week, I think. So yeah, just to highlight a few things that maybe you didn't know we had or wouldn't think that a library would have, but we do. All right, research, what everybody's here for. So exciting. I couldn't help but plug all of the wonderful things about the library though. So in terms of research, we have a lot of ways that we can support you. So the number one way I would say is our subject librarians, which we have 15 of those. And also I am one of them. So we are librarians that have specialty research expertise in different areas. And there's a librarian for every single department on campus. So like I work with the psychology department and also University College, but we have a health and human services librarian, a social science and history librarian, data specialist, education, humanities, engineering, arts and architecture, business, science, everything. We have a librarian for that. And so we come and teach like guest lectures, but you can also reach out to us for a one-on-one research consultation, which yes, we also do over the summer. So you would just find our email and email us and say, hey, I'm working on this project and this is what I need help with. And we'll set up a time to meet with you either in person or on Zoom, whatever works better for you. And I do this a lot with psychology students. Sometimes it takes literally like 5 minutes and other times it takes an hour. Either way, I sit down and go like line by line with you and help you find resources that you need, help you go through databases, brainstorm keywords, try to figure out what is the best resource for what you're looking for, stuff like that. So this is a really, I think, invaluable resource. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of them, I promise. But I mean, we're literally right here at your fingertips. Please use us, especially over the summer. We're kind of bored over there. So please come and bother us. We also have the live chat feature on our website. So anytime you see like this little green box in the lower left or lower right hand corner, that is a live chat that is active whenever the library is open, which is almost always. So during the semester when we're open 24/5, so you could hop on the chat at 3 in the morning, you'll be talking to a librarian who works at Atkins, and you could ask anything there related to research or even just like anything. We get random questions sometimes that kind of make us giggle. So anything is fine with us really. And then finally, the research guides, which is part of our website, which I'll kind of backtrack and show you how to get there. So the homepage, library.charlotte.edu. You can just click on research guides right here in the middle of the page, and it'll bring you here. So there's a couple ways you can look for guides. If you're not super familiar with a guide or you don't know exactly what you're looking for, I would recommend clicking on subject guides. So these are tailored to the different departments on campus. So I'll show you the psychology research guide since that is one of mine. Let's see, so psychology research guide, but you can see we have one for literally every department on campus. And this is basically what they're all going to look like. So it's just a collection of the relevant resources that the library provides for this discipline. So for psychology, I have the major psychology databases that we provide access to, like PsycInfo, PubMed, stuff like that, different tests, the DSM-5, which of course is very specific to psychology. And on mine, I also have a tab about using APA for citing, and also some little short video tutorials that walk you through how to use the databases and stuff. But they're all essentially going to be kind of like that. But this is a great starting off point if you don't really know, because again, we provide access to what did I say, like over 400 databases or something earlier. So it can be really overwhelming if you don't know where to go. So I recommend kind of starting there. And in fact, I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the research demo. And I'm going to use PsycInfo just because that's what I use the most. But if you've used an EBSCO database before, this interface looks very familiar to you because EBSCO owns a lot of databases and they all look and function in the same way. But even if you're in a completely different field, these same principles are going to apply to using one of your databases. And if you need more specialized help, that's when you would figure out who the subject librarian is and you would email them and you could ask them for help using PubMed or Web of Science or what is it, like Adam Matthews for like history or something like that. But essentially they're going to function in this same way. So we can see here that there are 3 search fields and then all of these kind of other options down here. My recommendation is to ignore any of this other stuff at the bottom on your first pass and just start out here with the search box. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just so I can make sure that y'all can see the magic that I'm about to work. All right, so this is an example I give a lot in psychology. If you've had me in a psychology class, I'm sorry, but I am once again going to use the therapy dog example. But if you don't know, the library has therapy dogs that come to the library at least twice a semester, knock on wood, more than twice a semester in the fall. And I'm actually the person who coordinates those visits. So they come during exam times usually to help de-stress. And they're just really cute and floppy dogs that just lay there and they just want so desperately for you to pet them. And it's very soothing and fun. So let's say I want to do some research about therapy dogs and like how and why they're therapeutic. So I'm just going to type in therapy dogs, right? Hit search and I get almost 400 results, which honestly on a first pass is not terrible. I would not be surprised if you get tens of thousands of results the first time that you do a search for something. Because all this means is that this is way too broad. I'm not being specific enough because the term therapy dogs is really vague and kind of general. So I need to be more specific. And that's why we have these other search fields here as well. Because searching a database is not like using Google, because Google uses what's called natural language. So you could type in a full sentence and it's going to give you exactly what you're looking for, right? But if I were to just type in a sentence here, it would just say error, 0 results, nothing, because databases use a controlled vocabulary, which is jargon that you don't need to remember, but it just functions in a different way. So instead of typing out like a sentence, you have to pull out the keywords of your research. So therapy dogs would be one keyword, right? But I'm really interested in research that has to do with a specific population. So how they interact with college students is really important and relevant to me because generally I know that therapy dogs can also go to like hospitals or public libraries or elementary schools or something, which is great. But I really only want stuff that's about college students and how they interact with them. So in the second search field, I'm going to type in college students. And I'm going to select the option that says college students or university students or undergraduates. So these are all similes. They mean the same thing. They're referring to the same population. But I'm going to use this option because again, databases are so particular and they're very exclusive. So you need to intentionally be inclusive if you want to be. So that means that if I were to just search therapy dogs and college students, I would only get articles that have both therapy dogs and college students. But there could be a perfect article that refers to this population as undergraduates, but I would never see it because I did not specifically search for that in the database. So you have to be as specific as possible, but not too specific, because then they're going to say, well, there's nothing like this. You're being way too specific. So it's kind of a fine balance, and it's something that you just learn with time. And it's just a lot of trial and error, trying something, see if it works, and then going and revising it. It's not like a one-shot deal. So let's try this and see what we get with this added term. So now we're down to 40. So we went from about 400 to 40, which is great. But there's a few other things that I need to do before I really start looking at these resources. So I need to come over here on the left-hand side, and I need to click on this show more button. Sometimes it comes up over here, but sometimes it doesn't. So click on show more and kind of scroll until you see scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, and select that. And then search it again. So this is just going to weed out anything that's not scholarly or peer reviewed, because we want peer reviewed literature, right? So that we can have a really strong argument or a really strong lit review or whatever it is that we're working on with our research. So we want to make sure things are peer reviewed. So by clicking that, it ensures that we're only looking at peer reviewed stuff. The next thing I need to do is change this publication date range. This is telling me that these now 27 results were published between 2008 and 2021, which is not too bad, but I would really like to focus on recent literature. And this is a term that you've probably heard professors throw out before, like we need recent literature, but they don't really tell you what that means. And I'm going to tell you that it means the last like 5 to 10 years, with the exception that if you are searching something to do with like science, medicine, technology, etc., it needs to be less than 5 years, like maybe the last 2 to 3 years max, because those are really rapidly evolving fields, right? So if you were to cite something that was like 5 years old, it's probably already out of date in those fields. But for something like this, 5 to 10 is going to be great. So I'm going to change this to like 2016. Right. And it's going to filter that out. So now we are down to 21 results, which is great. And the last thing I need to do before I start really digging into these results is I need to reorder them. So you can see right here, I hope you can see, this says date newest. So that tells me that these 21 results are sorted by what was most recently published, because databases think that it's like fun and flashy, and they're like, ooh, look at what's like new and sparkly and like hot off the press. And it's like, cool for you. I don't really care. I really just want what is relevant to what I searched. So if you just click on that, you can instead select relevance, and it's just going to resort those same 21 results so that they're now more relevant to your search query. And this is now when I would start to look through the results. So number 1 says an exploration of the benefits of animal-assisted activities in undergrad students in Singapore, which is cool, but I want to try to find stuff that is more local if possible, but that could still be a really great resource to pull from. Anxiety reduction in college students after a brief interaction with a therapy dog or animatronic dog, so like a little robot dog, that could be really cool. So characteristics of a student-dog interaction during a meet and greet activity at a university-based blah, blah, blah. So these are all looking really relevant to what I am looking for, right? So I could really click any of these, just kind of showing you that a lot of these are relevant. And I'm going to just click on this one. So a doggone way to reduce stress and animal-assisted intervention with college students. So I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to take me to the record page for the article, where it gives us all of this really beautiful metadata. If you're a nerd, it's very beautiful. So that's like the information such as the authors, the keywords, the classification, the subject headings, all of that. And also the abstract, which of course is just the overview or a summary of the article, so that you can read this without reading the whole article to figure out if it's really a good fit for you. So it's going to tell you what they studied, how they studied it, why they studied it, what the results were, if it was that kind of study, conclusions, etc. It's going to spoil the plot. And that's great so that you don't have to waste your precious time reading something that's not really relevant to what you're looking into. So kind of briefly skimming this, it seems like a really great fit. So now I'm going to go to the article, because if you see here, like the article is not here. So to access it, come over on the left-hand side and select PDF full text. It'll either be this or it'll be a green button that says get it. Either way, click on it and it'll take you to the PDF of the article. So here it is. And there's that same abstract again that we just saw on the record page. And then it starts going into the intro and the lit review and blah, blah, blah. So my strategy or my suggestion is to read strategically instead of linearly. So reading linearly would be like how you read a book. You start with the first word on the first page, you read it all the way through to the end, which is great. But honestly, that's a waste of your time most of the time. And I would bet my entire salary that none of your professors do that. I know your librarians don't do it because I don't do it. Nobody is reading these articles word for word, unless if you're doing like a really close reading or something, which may be necessary, but pretty rarely. So instead of starting with the intro, I would recommend jumping to the end and reading the conclusion, because this is essentially the abstract part 2, where they're going to just summarize the whole article again, but give you a little bit more information and context. So if you read this and then maybe you decide, actually, this really isn't what I'm looking for, toss it aside, keep it moving. Your time is too valuable to read something that's really not worth your time. So I read this and I'm, underlining, I'm taking notes, I'm writing questions in the margins, or however you kind of are an active reader, because that's really important too when you're reading articles, right? You don't want to just passively absorb the information. You need to actively be interacting with the text in order to fully absorb and understand the information. So I read the conclusion and I think, yeah, this is still good. So that's when I would go back to the beginning and I would read the introduction and the lit review, because that's going to contextualize, it's going to ground, it's going to situate this within the literature, kind of give you background info. And then I would move on to, methods if that is part of it, and then results, blah, blah, blah. So kind of jumping around a little bit. Maybe that doesn't work for you, totally cool. But for me, I find it's a really great way to manage my time, because you can get sucked into a black hole or a rabbit hole of just reading things. And you're like, wait, how did I end up like reading about like groundhogs in Connecticut? And it's like, I'm supposed to be reading about therapy dogs and universities. So this is my suggestion. So let's say that you have read the whole article now and you really liked it and you're definitely going to use it. You're like, okay, well, this was really great. So I'm just going to go ahead and start searching for another article now. No, you're not. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the references at the end of the paper. So these are all of the articles that this author cited in their study. Because it makes sense, right? If you really liked an article, then you should probably look at what they were citing, what informed them. It's another way of being strategic and working smarter and not harder. So I would go back to my notes and look at what I was really underlining. And let's say I really liked this when they were citing Benfett 2016. And it turns out to be this, another scholarly article that is Hounds and Homesickness, the Effects of an Animal-Assisted Therapeutic Intervention for First-Year University Students. So this has added yet another layer to my research question, right? So I started off with just like therapy dogs, and then I narrowed it down to therapy dogs and college students. And now I've really discovered that something that is really interesting to me that I think would be worthwhile researching is how therapy dogs specifically can help first-year students with homesickness, because that's a really big issue. And if students are feeling homesick, then they might drop out or they might transfer schools. And in higher ed, we're all about retention. We want to keep you here for as long as we can, or at least until you can graduate, right? So if I can say that by providing regular therapy dog visits at the library, this is a high impact practice that's going to retain students, and especially first year students, blah, 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 then I'm going to have a really good argument to my dean to let me have the dogs come more often, right? So it's just an example of how things can build off of themselves. But what I would do then is I would copy the title of this secondary article, and I would go back just to the library homepage, and I would just paste it here in the main search box. So I'm not going back into PsycInfo or any database, just searching the library website for this second article. Lo and behold, there it is. And I can access this online. And so then I would go through this same process where I would read the second article strategically. If I really like it and I want to use it, then I would also go and look at their references and see who they cited. So this is the idea of following the scholarly conversation, the idea that all of scholarship is in conversation with each other. So you write something and you publish it, someone else reads it and they think, oh yeah, and then they expound upon it or they add their own context or point of view. So the idea is that all of this is in conversation, a very, passive conversation, because heaven forbid scholars actually physically talk to each other because we're all nerds and introverts, but we talk to each other through our publishing, right? So that's kind of the idea. You could also think of it as reference mining. I kind of like that term as well. So that is my suggestion for that. And now I have too many tabs. Where am I? Here I am. No, here I am. Okay, so let's go back to the record page. Yes. So I've done all of that. I'm definitely going to use this, but now I need to cite it, right? So I need to build my own reference list. So the easiest way to do that is going to be coming over here on the right-hand side under the toolbar and clicking Cite. And it's going to pop up in the middle of the page. And I would scroll for psychology. We use APA. So to the APA 7th edition, here it is. I would copy and paste that into my reference section, with the caveat that these are computer generated, so they're not always entirely accurate. So you need to double check it against the style guide. As a seasoned pro, I can say that this is correct. It just needs a hyperlink at the end since we accessed it online. And the easiest way to do that is to get the permalink, because if you were on any database, this is not exclusive to PsycInfo, any database, if you were just to copy the URL at the top of the page, as you normally would, if you paste that and go and click on it later, you're just going to get an error message and you're never going to see this article again, unless if you spend a lot of time trying to redo the search and find the same article and blah, blah, blah. Because this link is not stable. It's not permanent. So instead we need the permalink, which is the permanent link, which over here at the bottom on the right is the chain icon. Again, click on that, it'll pop up in the middle. This is the link that you want to copy. And you could add that to the end of your citation. You could email it to yourself, put it in a Google Doc, whatever, but this is how you want to keep up with that. And related to that, and I promise this is going to be the last thing, so I'm back on the result page. So, we did this search and we're having so much fun. We got swept up in it all. And then you realize you have like 5 minutes before you have a class or you have work or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'll just copy this up here at the top and I'll come back to this later, right? Wrong, incorrect, boo, tomato, tomato, we don't like it. Because again, the same thing's going to happen where you copy paste this, click on it later, and it's just going to be an error message. And you will have to spend hours of your precious time trying to recreate this search. So instead, you want the permalink for the search query. And to do that, you would click on this button right here that says share and scroll down a little bit and click this where it says use permalink. Click it, copy it, paste it, email it to yourself, Google Doc, whatever you want to do. It's going to bring you right back here. So it's going to remember these search terms in this order. It's going to remember these filters and limiters that we put over here on the left. It should also be sorted in the same order. It's going to bring you right back here. This will save you hours. Because again, databases are so particular and finicky, right? So if I were to type in one letter different up here or to click one box differently over here on the left, I would get completely different results. So if you like what you find and you want to come back to it later, get the permalink for the search. Again, click share and it'll pop up right here. That's what you want. All right, that was quick and dirty. review of how to do research on a database. Any questions about anything? About research, about the library, about resources we have, services we offer.
Can you bring up the SMS text number again?
Yes. Yeah, so if you were not here for this at the beginning, if you wouldn't mind texting our summer scholar to this number on the screen. And that's just so the library knows how many students we reach through instruction. All right. Any other questions? All right, I know I threw a lot at you. You're probably digesting. You're probably ready for lunch. I know I am. And I have a parting gift for you all. You may or may not want, but you can take it if you want. So the subject librarians, we have these nifty bookmarks with our picture, our glamour shots, and all of our contact info, as well as the areas that we cover. So if you want to take one for me or for any of my colleagues, I'm going to put them up here at the front. I was not able to get one for everybody because some of them were out of stock, I guess, but I have some for data and earth science, social science, arts and architecture, health and human services, engineering, business, education, whatever. I'm going to put them up here. If you can parkour. Feel free to take one if you like. That is all I have for y'all. Thank you so much.
Yes, we will put the QR code back up like we did last week. If you can scan that for your attendance. I know a couple of you had issues with the login or with being logged in through even from Charlotte account. So please be prepared for that consistently. If you still are